or specific examples of globalization. Minute and a half on the 5. Yes. No. This is just writing them all down. We're round robin. He's filming. Globalization. Definition and examples. Specific examples of globalization in the world.
The spreading.
Do we have to remember that, like,
Tina, jump right in here.
This one?
This one right here. Globalization, and any examples of globalization in the world. Just write it down. Yeah, write it down. Round robin.
Oh, I know.
She's like, oh crap, right now. She's like, oh, I don't know.
Got a minute, 55 seconds. You should have 8 things written down right now.
I had a good example, too.
Coming up on a minute. You can walk, zoom in, focus on it when they give your answer. Please. 30 seconds.
Sure, Jeff. How do you feel about this?
I feel fantastic.
It's interesting. Mark, looking good.
Got about 15 seconds.
I like blueberry. Pop-Tarts.
Richard likes blueberry Pop-Tarts.
are you supposed to be
Blueberries,
filming?
blueberries,
Shrimp soup, shrimp salad.
All right, 2, 1. All right, Chris, pick me. Which group should go first?
Susan.
Susan's group's going to go first. All right, we'll start with y'all.
Okay.
Need a definition or examples of globalization in the world.
No, we're doing the definition first, right? That would be best, so other people-
Well,
One example is the Barbie article, where
I'm sorry, which article?
the Barbie article.
Go ahead with the Barbie article.
Enslaving Barbie, where basically children are being basically in these enslaved conditions while manufacturing Barbies.
This is going to be a fun
Okay,
group. This is going to be a fun group.
okay, the children. Okay,
Yeah.
there's children in India that are being paid by the Gap organization.
They're paid by the Gap?
Well, like the
Tiny
Gap
fingers.
organization. No, that's in the beginning of the article.
Whoa!
Then it goes to
Booyah!
I read the article. Okay, the main idea of the article.
So
is
Carden
Mattel-
really looks scared right
is
now.
Mattel- No. The main idea of the article is that Mattel is like paying for these workers. These workers are under really harsh conditions.
Okay, tell me about the kids. What's the deal with the kids?
They're actually not kids. I actually read the article today, and there was no kids. These kids.
There's no kids?
No.
Tiny fingers.
Okay, you wanna?
Tiny fingers.
Young as 10 years old work.
Okay, I need a fact.
Paid 53 cents per hour.
Okay, now you mentioned Mattel and the Gap. Both of them are mentioned, and it mentions that the kids can be as young as 10 years old. So here's the question that I have for you. What does this have to do with globalization?
Because the United States is like kind of, outsourcing their business
Yeah.
in their factories into like nations that have less strict regulations.
Yeah.
And so by outsourcing this, like we're kind of supporting this going on.
Okay, here you go. Basically, you've got some really bad working conditions in some other countries. And in reference to the kids, they were getting paid, or the people that were as young as kids, 53 cents an hour, 17, 18-hour work days, 7 days a week, these kinds of things.
That's an example of race to the bottom, isn't it?
We'll get to that, but don't give too many answers just yet. Okay, so basically you got these kind of facts that are going on over there. They're working on wood benches without backs. They're not allowed to stand up, these kinds of things. They're making toys for American kids that maybe they should be playing with at that age themselves. And to your point, U.S. is basically supporting these kinds of practices by outsourcing labor overseas. That, in a very long-winded way, is an example of globalization. Nays Group, let me come to you. Example of globalization. Go ahead.
There was.
They got
Go
points?
ahead. All right. Basically, I was going to just mention about how globalization is actually causing countries to lose sovereignty.
Okay.
Because of if you use the example of capital flight, business now has a bigger say than a lot of the governments. Not only that, if a
What is
business,
capital flight?
Big greenie.
basically it's like when
Hey, man.
How you doing?
because of the price of producing and stuff rises, countries are no longer interested in paying. I mean, businesses are no longer interested in paying the prices to the government and are going to go.
Businesses are paying the price to the government.
No. Sorry, what I meant is businesses want to make profit, so they're going to leave the country that requires them to pay more and go to a cheaper country.
Pay more what?
Greenie
The
says
prices?
yes.
Like
More
big
money.
wages. They don't want to pay higher wages.
Okay,
They
wages. What else don't they want to pay?
They don't want to have to like
Anything.
basically wait, I wrote it down. They don't want
Or-
to pay.
Wait, I have another
They
example.
don't want
Three.
the benefits. They don't want to give their workers benefits. And
Wages.
More tax, higher tax.
Benefits, taxes are the other thing. Basically, these companies, in terms of capital flight, it's almost like what they're doing is they're saying, we will move to your area if you give us certain concessions.
And
Things
so-
like tax benefits, for example. Things like roads or infrastructure purchases, for example. Basically, a lack of regulation. And then, to your point with capital flight, as soon as governments come in and say, well, we want more taxes, or we want to do more for our citizens, or we want to do more in reference to regulating you, then the businesses are like, you know what? Bye-bye. We're going to go someplace else. That's really what I needed on that. I'll go with that. Jeff's group, go.
Wait, can we give you more examples?
No, not yet.
Because things like the medical culture are different.
What about the medical culture?
There is less of a fear of malpractice suits and things of that sort.
Where?
Like countries like India.
Countries like India. So how do we know about this? What's the story with this?
Well, the story is that some companies, because of this these decreased insurance premiums and things like that, the cost of surgeries are cheaper and the cost of medical procedures.
Okay.
So companies are actually shipping their workers overseas for these medical procedures. For example, something like a $100,000 surgery here in the United States costs $20,000.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When you think back to that healthcare article, basically companies are struggling. They're going under if they provide benefits, health benefits, for example, to their workers. So they're putting in that incentive and saying, you know what? If you go overseas, say to India, for example, and get this procedure done, where it will cost you about a fifth of what will cost you here, we'll fly you over, it will save us money, we will pay you, put money in your pocket to go do this, and it's a win-win-win because the care is pretty good. Whether you're talking about something serious or Kishar getting dental work done, either way, you can go over to India and have this at a reduced price. I can totally go with that. Yes.
Okay, so they don't give them insurance, but if anything happens, they do ship them overseas.
No, they do give them insurance. Part of the insurance would be to go overseas because it saves the money. Richard's group, go ahead.
That's worth a half a point at least.
No one's given the definition of globalization.
Nobody's given the definition.
The multifaceted process by which the nations and societies of the world are increasingly become merged into a single global society and economy.
Yeah, basically what you're saying here is instead of having 190 some odd countries, more and more these 190 some odd countries are becoming intertwined to the point where they're becoming more and more one big world instead of 190 individual places. I can totally go with that. Go ahead, Christina.
You said definition and example. We haven't given an example.
Oh, I just needed the definitions fine for right now. Give me a fact. Somebody other than Christina, give me a fact from that group because we need everybody to talk.
Oh God, it's so loud.
The
All right,
Inquisition.
location.